some bitches. I mean, have you seen it in hockey? So,
Right.
in any event, it's an honor and a privilege to be on with you today.
It's an
Absolutely.
honor for us, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're so excited to be at Tribeca. How exciting! This is a great time to be a New Yorker.
Ain't it the truth?
New York
I
is
will
back,
say,
okay?
with one caveat, I'm staying at the Ace, which is 3 blocks from the Garden. So
Oh,
my
Oh, wow.
room might be in flames after Game 4 because if this
uh-huh.
city's ever going to burn, it's after a 4 game sweep. That happens not in San Antonio, but happens here. There will not be one erect lamppost in New York City. I'm telling you, they're going to pull every vertical object down.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
imagine
agree.
that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Uh,
collective insanity. So the
I
devil's
miss the food too. I can't help talk about the New York food.
I love you.
I miss the pizza, the bagels, the pastrami sandwiches.
Saying, I'm
Oh
saying, I'm in New York for a week, and I have not been able to. I mean, I was at the stadium yesterday
my,
watching the
uh-huh.
Yankees crush the Red Sox, um, but stadium hot dogs don't count as New York cuisine.
No, no. Coney Island Nathan hot dogs.
Yeah, babe.
Ah,
Now
yeah.
we're talking. Now we're talking. So
So let's talk about your film. Yes, Clay, go ahead.
Yeah. So
We're so excited.
my first question, Paul, was as far as your work, and congrats on
Yeah,
Tribeca
congratulations
again.
again. How exciting.
But your work on this case began with your acclaimed Rolling Stone piece, "The Devil You Know."
Mm,
What led you to believe this story required an eight
hmm
episode podcast season? And what was the key piece of evidence or realization that indicated authorities missed a whole lot of
I love
useful?
the way you jump right in the middle. I love that. Thank
Yeah,
you. So much.
for sure.
So it's a brilliant question because there's a ticking clock in this show. So
Uh-huh.
I've listened to the great podcast series, which, whether it's Adnan Syed, Making a Murderer, Shittown, you name it, a Bone Valley, they get the wronged party out of prison, right? They
hmm
rescue the person for whom injustice has been a fact of life for 15, 20, 30 years.
hmm
But as far as the perp, nah, we got the perp, or
hmm
the guy we are all but certain is the perp. And that perp, this predator of children,
hmm
this hunter, gatherer, binder, sodomizer, rapist of children, who was allowed to operate with impunity in this podunk county of
hmm
New York State, 50 miles north of the Bronx,
hmm
Putnam County, when he had gotten done doing his dirty work
hmm
in Putnam County, went one county over to Connecticut, where he started in again, 2 new victims. But in Connecticut, they take child rape seriously.
hmm
And so they arrested him, they tried, convicted him, sentenced him to 30 years. Here's the bad news. In Connecticut, 30 years ain't 30 years. It's more like 26. They are rushing to put this crazed predator on
hmm
back on the streets with no
hmm
probation, no parole,
Wow.
no supervision whatsoever, except presumably he'll register as a sex offender, and
Yeah.
then he'll go back to the woods where he lives. And this is a guy who, since the age of 13, has been living off the grid in a tent in the
Wow.
woods of Connecticut.
He's
So,
already a monster. An animal. Mm.
so we are urging, begging our listenership
hmm
to not just be sets of ears, but to be mouths, to
hmm
be part of this enormous consensus that we are building, not
hmm
only to solve these 2 cold case murders.
Yeah.
Josette Wright, 1994, the disappearance and presumed murder of Robin Murphy 6 months later in same town, handled by the same overarching law enforcement community that so badly botched the Josette Wright case. So they arrested, instead of the town pedophile, instead of the guy that everyone was pointing at saying, look at this dude, look at this dude.
Yeah.
They arrested 2 stoner teenagers and coerced, beat, bullied, not only a confession from one of them, but also extorted, menaced, bullied their friends, their stoner friends, to point fingers at them. And all of those witnesses have recanted, have come forward and said, none of this happened. The cops made me say it, or they were going to charge me with the murder. But also, in framing these 2 young men, Anthony DePippo and Andy Krieger, they let this monster hunt. And he went on hunting for 5 more years. And one of the things that we're expecting to happen is to hear from new victims, is to hear from new witnesses. Part of the beauty of doing a podcast series that was not the case with the Prince story. So Rolling Stone used to have an enormous readership. It's still online. The way that I change outcomes these days is by converting my Rolling Stone stories into Netflix series, into crime series, into HBO or Max series. In this case, because the victims were so young, Netflix didn't want to touch this that first time. So podcast. And podcast is so powerful, not only at recruiting wonderful people like you to shout to the heavens, to your very large listenerships. A horrible wrong has been done, but not just to these 2 young men who did get out of prison, did prove their actual innocence, and did get paid. Anthony got 12 million, Andy got 20 million, and then money from New York State. The families of those murdered girls have no justice, have absolutely nothing to show after 30 plus years of grief, of torment, of generational suffering that will pass on to their children, their surviving grandchildren. We are recruiting our brilliant universe of listeners, of colleagues in the community to say, hell no, this must not stand. We need to speak as one so that this monster never walks free, and so that these bumbling cops, these corrupt or incompetent or colluding cops, don't have the last word, and that last word is case closed. Unsolved. We need justice for these 2.
They need justice. They need to be vindicated.
Justice. Exactly. So what we can do as a premier podcast is shame the authorities and coerce the authorities. In this case, the Attorney General of New York State has the power to arrest this guy when he gets out of prison in December and commit him to a psychiatric institution for the rest of his life.
Sure.
Under something called the Civil Commitment Law. What is classified as an SVP, a sexual violent predator. She can just go to a judge and say, not only has he never expressed remorse, not only has he never expressed any interest in rehabilitation, he is writing his surviving victims and threatening them.
Oh, wow. He is definitely psychopath.
We have his letters to his victims, and he writes us threatening his victims. So the idea that Connecticut is rushing to let this man out of prison 4 years early is unthinkable.
It is.
Unthinkable.
Wow.
Again, you guys are a force multiplier. You are, with your passion and with your public, you can help us grow that grow that rage and that impatience for justice. Look, you're talking to the guy who got Meek Mill out of prison with a story I wrote in 2018. That's my series on Prime. I broke the NFL concussion scandal. Aaron Hernandez, that's my story.
I saw that.
Those you've seen. So when I come in with a flamethrower, your shit's going to burn, right? In this case, I set fire to that town, but apparently they didn't get the message the first time. So with this medium, 8 episodes, to really, and what we know we've done with this is to make something so addictive, so infuriating, so, every listener is going to have the same 3 questions in their mind. What did this predator have on the sheriff's department of Putnam County? What did this predator have on the DA of Putnam County? And how can these people who have children and grandchildren get up in the morning and look at themselves in the mirror, knowing they gave that man a pass?
Wow.
Yeah.
Speechless.
You literally have answered every question I had.
We had a lot of questions.
You answered them all in one fell swoop.
The only thing I can say is, where does your passion come from for this?
So, I was kind of a red diaper baby. I grew up the son of 2 very civil rights obsessed parents who took me to the marches on Washington during Vietnam, who, were were basically freedom riders. And so I inherited their politics. And then when I failed as a novelist and I failed as a playwright, and I got a job at the Village Voice, I wrote a story called Dead Boys about throwaway children of the crack era in New York. 1988. And it's like not only my calling, but my subject came to me at the same time. Be the voice for the voiceless.
Yes.
Be the face for the faceless. Get justice for people who have no sniff of it otherwise. So get justice for those brain-broken NFL veterans. Get justice for the guys who came back from Iraq with invisible brain injuries from being blown up by IEDs. Get justice for all those brothers in West Philly who were framed for murders they didn't do by the crooked West Philly homicide squad, or the field narcotics unit, which framed up Meek Mill for 1 rock of crack and put him in the system for 12 years. Be that voice and be indomitable. Do not take no for an answer. Do not take no comment for an answer. Get to the bottom. And I would do this work for nothing, but don't tell that to my magazine or to my podcast executive producers, because I do like to wear John Varvatos. So, but yes, that's where my passion comes from. And the thing about a calling is, if you don't answer, it poisons you, right? If you've been given this skill, this mission, and you don't complete the mission, you're going to live an awful life. On the other hand, if you do prosecute it with all your heart and with all your soul, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's really the life and the career that I've set out to architect for myself. And I am never bored, except during fact checking. I'm never dismayed, except during the legal vetting. If I didn't have to deal with fact checkers and in-house lawyers, my life would be a beach with a Corona.
Yeah. So how do you keep going? I mean, how do you stay encouraged? Because I know you've had a lot of disappointments when you are trying so hard with all these challenges that you have to meet.
Well, you take a lot of L's in this game, right? But the W's are so rich. They're so beautiful. You get that guy off death row. You get 42,000 people wrongly convicted in Massachusetts by crooked crime lab chemists. You get them exonerated. That carries you so far. And, people always say where do you find your stories? I just follow my outrage. I just follow my hunger for justice. And it's my true north. It just finds, and by now, I don't have to pick up the phone. The calls are incoming.
Yes.
You know, the folks who need justice, way more than I can deal with. I do have colleagues that, you know, I share with, but honestly, we need clones of me. We need clones of a couple of my colleagues to just do this, only this, because we've never been a more unjust society. We have never been a nation more poisoned by lies,
so imbalanced,
by hatred. And, you know, there was a time 10 years ago where I thought, I can kind of see that shining city on the hill. We had a real president in Obama. We had what looked like a functioning democracy. And then, you know, the great trickster showed up. And suddenly cops can get away with all manner of bullshit. Suddenly the Justice Department is in business to protect a crook. And so who's left? People like so. See, oh Jesus! I'm sorry, my dears. I've just gone over, and our next podcast is at hand. But I am honored and privileged.
Thank you so much. I just want to say one thing before we go. What advice would you give to people like yourself who have a passion but might be afraid to do what they are called to do?
Just use your voice. Use your voice and find like-minded souls. Find people who are already on the ground doing it. Add your voice, add your sweat equity, and there's power in the collective. It works. And we're going to see it work this November.
That's a great, Jim. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking this time. Thank you.
So you have a good one.
God bless.
My great pleasure.
Bye-bye.